Happy lunch hour, guys. Okay, so this one is information for you. I think I've done enough stimulating everybody's brain this morning. But the comments that are below this morning's videos are exceptional, with everybody offering suggestions, thinking about things, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the whole thing. And I highly advise anybody, when you're watching the videos, also go read the comments, because there's a ton of brilliant information that's put out in there from you guys. Some things that I don't think about, some things I may have forget to mention or whatever it is. But make sure you do that, because this channel is all about all of us. And like I've said a million times, I don't have all the answers, but between all of us, we're pretty damn close. So for lunch, I want to talk about something we discussed on Saturday night's live stream. And I know a lot of people can't make the live streams and stuff like that. And that's totally understandable. Okay. A lot of people just can't sit through an hour of listening to me, which is totally understandable too. But we were talking at one point about beef prices. And I had mentioned in there, beef prices are coming down a little bit now. And damn well you're going to hear out of Biden soon enough, look, the cost of Christmas dinner is down, beef prices are down, look how great I am, yada, 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 right? And this is what I was telling everybody. I said, yeah, and there's somebody right here in town who's a subscriber to the channel here who I know well, same person I was telling you about I was doing that barter deal for the other day, who had a dairy cow on her property, and she had to sell the cow because it was too expensive to keep feeding the cow, all right? Because food has gone up like crazy, cattle feed. Well, she's not alone, okay? This is the entire meat industry. I mean, whether you want to talk about cattle, pork, chicken, you can talk about the bird flu or whatever you want to do, but this is what's going on. The reason I said on Saturday night the prices are coming down is because all these ranchers can't afford to feed the cattle, and rather than have them starve and die out in the fields, they're taking them to slaughter. And so now there's a glut of meat on the shelves or whatever it is, and the prices are coming down. Now, I tend to say about the glut of meat because many of you guys tell me that there's not much in the grocery stores, but it's going around, okay? But that's why the prices are coming down. And what I said on Saturday was, be careful being lulled into a false sense of security, kind of like Biden will be. Look at what I did. Because the other thing that's getting killed off, sent to slaughter, is the breeding stock. And, it's not like a cow or a pig or whatever it is, they're not rabbits, okay? Gestation period for both of them is quite long. And so, they're not just going to be dropping calves like crazy or piglets like crazy. So what happens is, if there's no breeding stock, that means there are no calves, there are no piglets, and the price is up. It's going to come down, but then it's going to go way up, because then we're going to have a mass shortage. And people will say, oh, that's just you speculating, yada, yada, yada. A little bit of knowledge on how some of this stuff works, but yeah, those were my ideas. Till I got this email from Steve today, okay, one of you guys, and Steve gave me permission to read his email. I'm going to read this to you. His daughter works at 7-Eleven, okay? She told us last night that a regular customer comes in who works at a local butcher. He stated the amount of cows and pigs being brought in to slaughter is the most he's ever seen. He stated that farmers have been bringing their cows and pigs in because they cannot afford to feed them and all the rest of the things that are required to raise livestock. He said that there is little fat on them and they are real lean because of that fact. It's one thing when preppers talk about and can read about the things concerning livestock, and altogether another thing when one sees and hears about it from a local butcher. True. Now it's at the doorstep. I told my daughter and my wife the price of beef will go down because there's a sudden glut on the market, but that this is an artificial price because the lower price is being generated by food shortages and other things outside of the norms, and not being generated because of the market fluctuations and such. He spot on with this. Okay. I explained to them that this glut will also cause the price of poultry to come down, as well, as people will not be buying as much poultry and will instead be buying more meats that are now at a lower price. Again, just like everything else. You were shopping at Penny's, now you're shopping at Walmart. You were shopping at Walmart, now you're shopping at Costco or Aldi or something. Okay, same thing with meat. I was eating steaks, now I'm eating pork chops, now I'm eating chicken. Okay, now I'm eating beans. It was the other way too. I'm used to living on steaks, so I'm going to buy those. Back to his email. Both of these things are temporary, and they will have very negative and long-lasting effects on prices once the glut of beef is gone. This will skyrocket the cost of beef almost overnight, because once people realize that the lower price was a result of excess beef being butchered, and now that the excess has been used up, now beef will become a scarcity, and this in turn will cause the price of poultry to skyrocket as well, because there never was an excess of poultry with all the culling that is going on. He couldn't have said this better in this email. That is exactly what's going on. Now, by no means am I telling everybody go out and buy sides of beef all over the place. I mean, if you can get a half a cow or something, go for it, okay? But don't drop everything right now and try to find beef or whatever it would be. Obviously, I don't have to tell everybody. I mean, it always amazes me. Go buy food. No shit, Sherlock. Okay. It's like, I don't have to tell you that. You guys know that. But to understand what is ahead of us is what's important. And all the normies will be out there going, look, Joe brought the price of meat down. Isn't he just wonderful? But then, of course, when the price of meat goes back up, it'll be, it's Trump's fault or it's Putin's fault, right? That's exactly what'll happen. It's stuff like this that we need to pay attention to. If you don't think that, I mean, and I may go out a little on a limb here, but let's go with a little nefarious thought too. Hey, if we raise the price of cattle feed, we can get them to cull all the cattle. Oh, and then we don't have to worry about cow farts anymore because there aren't any more cow farts. Okay? Let's think about this. Again, outside the box type stuff. What could they be doing? We all know that the World Economic Forum, the socialist democrats of the world, are hell-bent on making this world uninhabitable. And if this is a way of doing it, they can't just artificially say they can't come up and say you can't eat beef anymore. Everybody say, here's the one finger salute. All right. But if they make it so it's so difficult to raise cattle for beef and people can't afford it, yeah, that works real well. Well, people, let's hypothetically, ground beef is $10 a pound, let's just say. And they come up and go, well, people aren't buying beef. They just can't afford it. So why raise more cows? And that'll help climate change in the meantime. Okay. These are things to pay attention to. And I know, there's plenty of people who, it's like, okay, I've got deer meat in the freezer. Good. Okay. Any meat you've got in the freezer is good. But remember this too. There's only so many hunters in the United States right now that go out, and deer season still going on in some places. And a lot of them get skunked, get nothing. They got their tag, but they never get anything. What happens when all of a sudden 10 times as many hunters are out there because they can't get beef? The deer disappear a lot faster, and all of a sudden there isn't any. Go back and read stories on what happened to the deer population during the Great Depression. It was pretty much obliterated, okay? Our diets are going to change for a real simple reason. The powers that be are manipulating everything they can to take away the things they don't want us to have happen. I guarantee you the White House will still be serving steak. You may not be able to eat it, but they sure will. We all saw a couple of weeks ago that Biden and Macron were eating lobsters. I can't afford lobsters. I don't know about anybody else. Ain't coming anywhere close. Maybe if you live up there in New England or something, maybe you can. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, you could get live lobsters for like $2 a pound in the supermarket. It's the only place I've ever seen that. Okay. But our diets are going to change. A lot of people have suggested to me, why don't I raise quail? Why don't I raise rabbits? Whatever it would be. Not saying everybody has that option, but I want you to think about what you can do now for next year. Because even the beef industry is saying 2023 is going to suck, and I'll link that below too. All right, that prices are going to skyrocket and supply is going to dwindle, and that's straight from the beef industry. That's not some media story talking about it. What can you do now to make sure you have the protein source, the meat that you want to eat next year, 2023, maybe 2024? Again, because like I said, if beef prices go back down and people can afford it, feed prices come back down and ranchers can afford to raise their cattle, beef will eventually come back, just like the deer population did after the Great Depression. But it's not going to happen overnight. And somehow you're still going to want to eat between when ground beef is $10 a pound and to back when ground beef is at a reasonable price. This is another reason why I say 2 years worth of food. Why I've changed from 1 to 2. Because I think, my opinion, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Pinball out.